Good evening, and welcome to Overcomers Talk. Tonight's edition is the impact and the empowerment of your vote. We have candidates that are here from the Central Texas area that are getting ready to talk to us about political issues, their insight, and the impact of the things that are taking place in your community. So we want you to like, subscribe, and share tonight's edition. We want you to come in ready to receive what's getting ready to go forth. So we'll see you back here shortly.
Good evening and welcome to Overcomers Talk. I am your host, Minister Carrie Ann Frazier, and I am so excited for tonight's show. Once again, we're talking about knowing the power of your vote, and this is part 2. Last week, we were joined by sitting councilwoman Debbie Nash King, as well as trustee candidate Mr. Brett Williams and member-at-large candidate Ken Wilkerson. Thank you so much for joining us. This week, we have 3 new individuals joining us today. Once again, Open Fire does not endorse any political party or any candidate. The purpose of tonight's show is awareness and education. So we thank you for tuning in. But before I go any further, we have to give honor to where honor is due. And that is the visionaries of Open Fire as well as Overcomers Talk. Amen? All right. So we are joined by First Lady, the beautiful, the amazing. Because she's sitting right next to me, I got to start here, right?
I'm always happy to be here.
You're always happy.
Yes,
And you
especially I
look
get to work with.
beautiful.
Oh, cut it out.
We kind of match.
Yeah, we do.
We kind of match.
That's true.
And that is the beautiful, she's the
God.
assistant pastor and the first lady. This is Pastor April Coffey.
Bless
And
you.
now the set man of the house, Open Fire International Fellowship, as well as the visionary for the Overcomers Talk panel, and that is none other than Apostle, Dr., Pastor Lincoln Coffey. I like saying all those titles.
Yes, you
Don't
do.
worry,
I
just
noticed.
do.
You do it.
It just makes me so proud. Every time I say another title, I
Yes.
just get so proud of you.
Oh,
Yeah,
my.
Prime Minister, that's good. I'm glad to be here.
Oh.
Thank you for joining us tonight,
Amen.
and you will be
Yes.
blessed.
Amen. And we're also joined tonight by 3 individuals from right here in Bell County, and that is the city of Killeen, Texas. We are joined by Mr. Riacos Adams,
Yes,
Thank you.
yes.
and
to be here.
Riacos is running for a trustee position on the Killeen Independent School District. Thank you so much for joining us,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Riacos.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, yes. Praise God.
We're also joined by Miss Nina Cobb, who is running for a member-at-large position. Thank you so much for joining us, Ms.
Amen.
Cobb.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Thank you.
And we're also joined by Miss Melissa Brown. Melissa, thank you for joining us, who is also running for member-at-large.
Amen.
Thank you
Amen.
so much for the invitation.
Praise God.
It is so important for us to have this panel, and this is something very different, right, Pastor?
Yes.
Yes.
It's the church
Yes.
in politics. 2
Yes.
things you're not supposed to talk about,
Yeah.
and definitely don't bring it together.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amen.
But what we found out last week is how politics really affects the house of worship.
It
Yeah.
sure does.
Right? And all the individuals, your individual life. And so it is critical from what we learned to have a deeper understanding of the voting process,
Yes.
the issues, and then the candidates on whom will speak for us by that of our vote.
Amen.
And you know something, Minister Kerry, even if, just like you were saying earlier on, usually we talk about the church and politics, they don't really come together.
Yeah.
But even if I'm not just looking at things from the Christian point of view as to what politics, has to do with the church, I have to stop and think after now I'm being more aware that it actually affects my life as an individual, period.
Yeah.
So whether I'm a Christian or not, and I am, but whether I'm a Christian or not, it affects my life, period. So I do need to be aware and I need
Yeah.
to know what's going on.
Very good.
Yeah.
That's what I got from it too. I got
Yeah.
so many nuggets last week.
Yes, and,
So-
and last week, one of the things that I learned, I took away from last week, was that there is a structure in our government.
Yeah.
There's a structure in the government, and these are the persons that make our laws, or local regulations.
Yeah.
And one of the things I took away from last week is that whoever you give your vote to, that's who you give your power,
Yeah.
give the power,
Yeah.
you give your power to, which that's a powerful thing.
That's a powerful thing.
That is
Yeah.
a powerful thing.
It is.
And
It
so
is.
I'm excited. I just to get to hear from our guests tonight, just to hear their heart
Yeah.
in the political arena, and to dig a little deeper, see
I-
what's
I-
behind the scenes. Amen.
Exactly.
Amen.
I am excited. I am excited. Are we ready to get started?
Yeah.
So let us get started with some questions. And again, do you know what I got last week also, Pastor? That this is not for money. $100 a month.
Oh my gosh,
First
that
lady,
blew my mind.
$100 a month.
I thought,
Before
yes.
taxes. Before
Before,
taxes.
so they
They
take
take
taxes.
taxes out,
Yeah.
School board is nothing.
and the school board is nothing.
Right, strictly
Zero.
volunteer.
Okay.
It's volunteer. Okay, so
Wow.
you just heard it here again. Wow. Okay,
Yeah.
so I want to know, okay, so you're not getting paid for this, right? You're not getting paid, or you're getting some money. You're getting gas money. You're getting some McDonald's money. I'm for it. Not that we are endorsing McDonald's. I have disclaimers. Why? First of all, talk about the position that you're running for. And I'm going to start with you, Mr. Adams, and then work my way around. The position that you are running for, and what is your why?
I'm running for place 4 on the Killeen Independent School District Board of Trustees.
Okay.
That's a 7-member board. They together set the policy and manage the school district. They hire and fire the superintendent, and they evaluate them and determine the direction, enable him or her to be able to do their job.
Okay.
The school board is also the representatives of the community, so that you still have a voice, individuals still have a voice on how the school district is ran.
Okay. Okay.
There's a process, and so I'm running. I waited 3 years. Every year I talked about it, and I prayed about it. Then I realized I kept telling other people, don't talk about it, be about it. And it's better to be a part of the discussion than being part of the menu. So I had a conversation with my pastor, and I said, I'm strongly thinking about running.
Wow.
And I prayed about it, and then 20 minutes into the service, he announced, Brother Adams is running for, I said, oh.
Yes, you are.
I'm sorry, excuse me. I'm
I'm
just like
running for school board. So immediately at Monday, I went and filed my paperwork, and it was the last week of filing.
Oh, wow.
But I really needed to know. I'm a retired military, so I was, after 22 years, I don't know if I wanted to work anymore.
Right.
So, and I just, like I said, it's time to just, instead of just sitting back on the sidelines, let me let everybody know that I'm here and available, and I'm willing to represent you properly.
Okay. And so your why was you tell everyone, be about it,
Yes.
and you felt that you needed to walk your talk.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So with that said, what do you hope to achieve as a school board trustee?
I hope to push for more community involvement, more engagement. And when I say that, let me go back. More community involvement, more engagement, better accountability and transparency, better relationships with all the municipalities that KSD serves, and better equity, diversity, and inclusiveness. We tend to steer away from allowing our citizens more opportunity to speak at meetings. And I think the board needs to get out and represent, to see the people. So maybe we should have meetings at different places. Okay. And then, but the budgeting process should be where a first grader, maybe not a first grader, but at least a 12th grader will be able to read it and understand it. Or the most illiterate person can look and see, okay, I see how much my child is getting at their school. And then when there are issues dealing with our senior folks in the district, we should be telling people, we're paying you this much money and something's going on, then that should be known. Now, unless it's a real personal issue, I understand. Then if we shouldn't be meeting on the same nights as the largest municipality as in the school district, and that's Killeen City Council. So I got to decide, do I want 45% of my money taken when they're talking about taxes at KSD, or do I want 30% of my dollar taken under? So which one? Where do I set my priority on determining who who do I go see about? Let them know I don't want you taking any more of my tax dollars as it is.
So you're saying that the school board meets the same night as city council?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
And then there's a 3-minute presentation in the beginning, but there's no interaction later.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Riacos Adams. So the same question to you, Ms. Cobb. What are you running for? Are you currently part of the city of Killeen? What are you running for?
I am. I'm currently one of the commissioners of arts. So I've gotten a chance over 2 terms to meet the community, and then I work in public health. So when you work in public health, you meet everyone. You meet from the least person that you would expect to meet to the grandest person that you would expect to meet. And what I've always found, they're the same person, the same heart's desires. I'm invested in Killeen, and I'm invested because I've been here for over 20 years. I've raised my sons. I've had a business. I've been a football coach. I have done some things in this community that you just wouldn't expect to have done. But most importantly, I care about this community. I have a heart of compassion. Some people will say, Ms. Cobb, you're so kind, but Mrs. Cobb is pretty stern also. We know what we need when we need it. And so as a mentor to young ladies, I decided, with the help of the good Lord, one night I asked the good Lord, I have 3 sons. I said, Lord, if you just keep my 3 sons and my family, I'll do whatever you ask me to do. Well, I guess I shouldn't have asked that question, huh? Because he said, let's do something a little different, Nina. How about serving with city council? Let's see if you can do something different, not just being a mentor. And just like Mr. Adams, you know how we always preach to our young ladies and our young men, you can be whatever you want to be. But yet and still, I'm not doing anything. I'm just constantly working, same program, same mentorship, but we have to move. So I realized you have to move, Nina. You just can't encourage, but you've got to let someone encourage you, and you move, and you show, and you be a woman of action. My favorite motto is work when wishing won't. So we've got to work, and we've got to be great mentors to our young ladies by working in the community, by dreaming, knowing that anything is possible if you work for it. And so that's one of the biggest reasons. At my church, I'm a deaconess, and I love my Sunday school students, and they would come in. They tell me about the school, of course. Then they tell me about their health care, and then they tell me about being a parent. So there's a whole lot of things that I would like to share, but most importantly, making sure our city is safe for these dreams, making sure that we meet our needs are met, making sure that we have the best. I want us to be accountable. And I think that at this point, Ms. Cobb needs to be held accountable and not just tell you things or have you research, but work towards it with you, working together, communicating.
Yes.
I think it's so important. I tell you, and even if I don't get on the board, we're still going to be accountable. We're still going to work. We're still going to have mentorship programs. We're still going to go on a Saturday morning and feed the homeless. We're still going to do those things that we normally do because I am a servant. And so it's just important. I could go on and on. You know I can talk. We all know I can talk because I just love Killeen. Just think about it. School, boys, home. I pay property taxes. Think about all the things.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot. Killeen is my life. It has been my life. It's a second family for me.
Amen.
Wow.
Praise
So
God.
yes.
Wow. That just so
That's
many
good.
nuggets. And you know,
That's
Pastor,
good.
that word from last week revisited us just now. Accountability.
Yeah.
Yes.
Accountability. And
Yes.
she said Ms. Cobb needs to be held accountable.
Miss Cobbs.
Ms.
Yeah.
Cobbs needs to be held
Yes.
accountable. And whether or not I make it on the board, I'm still going to serve because
Yes.
that's what my heart is.
Right.
And,
It's
and,
servant
and that's
leadership.
exactly, actually, I kept looking at her and even just meeting her earlier on, and I felt like that's exactly what I hear. Like she is so driven to do this that even without sitting on the board, this is where your heart is at. And that's beautiful to know.
That's good. That's good.
Well, thank you so much for being here, the both of you. And so, Melissa Brown, once again, thank you. And I have the same question for you. Are you currently serving in any capacity? And then what are you running for? And what is your why?
So currently, I am a commissioner for the Senior Advisory Board.
Okay.
So I just joined that. My first meeting was in June, and it's been so exciting, so rewarding. This past weekend, we were able to give out groceries to 80 individual seniors who were in need. We were able to drive up, pick them up, and take it. And that, to me, is the most exciting part about working with the city, is because you get to see that thankfulness and that relief from people when you're able to give them what they need. So I have been following the Killeen City Council for years now.
My God.
I kind of have been a thorn in their side because I talk to a lot of citizens on a regular basis, and we have our meetings, yes, at the same time, at the same nights as the school board, and people are split between who they get to go watch and listen to and interact with. But not only that, our meetings start at 5 p.m. on a weekday. So if you're a working adult, normally you get out of work at about 5 p.m., trying to get home, take care of the children, make sure they're fed, and make it to the city council meeting is nearly impossible. So I've spent a lot of time speaking to our council members, letting them know, relaying what I've heard back from the community. But I'm one voice right now out of 150,000 people. And it's really easy to ignore one voice out of 150,000. I'm running not because I think or because I believe I can help, because I know that I can help affect change and bring the things to the city that I feel the community has been asking for, the safety. I think that while we do need more officers, we can't rely just on our police department for safety.
Yeah.
We need to network with our community organizations, with our churches, with the mentorship programs that are existing. We need to make sure that everyone has essential needs met. So right now we have people with no access to groceries, pharmacy, medical care, no transportation because our bus lines have been cut to nearly nothing. We have young people with no place to go and nothing to do. I was young once, I'll tell you, when you're bored and mom and dad or mom or whomever are at work and you're unsupervised and you're bored, you're going to find a way to entertain yourself, and usually it's not the best form of entertainment. So we need safe, structured, and secure activities for our young people, but that are also cost-effective for families. So again, like everybody else up here, I've invested much heart and time in our community. I have 2 kids. I grew up in foster care. I moved around a lot. My husband is retired military, so in our marriage we moved around. And our children are fortunate that my son started pre-K in KISD, and he is a sophomore at Ellison now. My daughter started pre-K at Timber Ridge, and she is in 5th grade now. And our goal is to make sure that they are able to finish their education where they started it, but also have a community, not just a city or a home, but a community that they want to stay in, because I want to stay here and see my grandchildren. So.
Wow.
That's
Wow.
good. That's
Wow.
good. I love it. Yes.
Thank you so much, each of you, Pastor. This is just such a wealth of information already for your service to the city of the Killeen. And I know, Riakos, you didn't talk about currently, are you serving in any position in the city?
Yeah, right now I chair the Community Development Advisory Committee.
Okay.
And I'm the president of Killeen Volunteers, which is no longer a city board. Community Development Advisory Commission is the committee recommends to the city council how to spend the community block grants.
Okay.
And then I'm the co-chair for the School Health Advisory Commission.
Wait a minute, you just said 3 different
yeah.
things. So
Yeah,
Talk about the funding one, the one,
well, every year,
the one with the money.
Housing and Urban Development provides each urban area money to help get rid of blight and improve some of the areas, improve economic, get rid of some of our abated properties. And we conduct a forum for citizens where they come in and they give us what they think are the priorities. The committee then takes those priorities and we put it on a sheet and we debate, and then we get presentations from each organization. Now the city staff collects the information, does all the administrative work, and then we listen and we vote on what recommendations. And then I have the dubious task of recommending to the city council and asking them questions why we voted this way. So we found a way to qualify and quantify it so that it didn't appear that anyone had a particular agenda. But that money goes, depending on where the city's focus is, and it also is tied into the city's improvement plan.
Yeah, so I just have a quick question for even our viewers, for myself. So my trip through Killeen, going down the road, going to the neighborhoods, what are some of the things that we see, we drive by on a daily basis that you had and your department where you serve in the city have an impact in that area, a building, a structure, a lake, a river? You know, what are the things, the landmarks in the city of Killeen that have your voice behind it?
The last funding with the Heritage House, well, there were some issues with funding with the homeless shelter, but we've funded that. Well, we've recommended. We don't make the decision because we're a committee of the
But you recommend funding.
Yeah, we recommend funding. And then some of the parks that you've seen where the sidewalks that were previously dilapidated are now have been fixed up, or some senior homes that they aren't able to do the work. So there's a department that actually collects funding to donate, to give to those, to help them, but they have to apply for it.
Okay, so
And
senior
then-
homes, the
yes.
sidewalks,
And the first-time home buyers program. is another.
first-time home buyers program.
And I think this year the city itself can apply for a grant because there's 4 sections of it, and you can. The city applied to fix up a couple of parks and a few other places. We debated among the committee, but then the city council, and and the city council gets input from the public to determine whether that funding happens. But when you actually go back, the committee members can go actually see the money being used. Another is Bring It in the Zone, which is a organization that supports veterans. We go and visit them to make sure they're using the money like they're supposed
Right.
to.
Right.
So what I'm hearing, that now you're in the place where you're making recommendations.
Yes.
So when you know, if you were to get elected, is this something that will streamline to get you in a place where you actually not just recommend something to another board, but or is something completely different?
In the trustee position, it's almost the same, but we're the governing body. It's like the city council is for the city. The KISD is, and when I say the district, because we make up the district. Too often we say district and it's the school and then it's us. But the board sets the policies on how the district runs. So, but you need at least 4 votes for that policy to make. So I would just be one of the one vote that can push it.
And that is specifically for school board, which
Right.
is very different from the committees
Yes.
that you sit on in
Yes.
the
The only
city.
committee that I sit in
Yeah.
is for KISD is the School Health Advisory Council.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
understand.
Ms. Cobb, I think Ms. Cobb was
Yeah,
going
you
to say
saw me.
something to
You saw-
Melissa.
Yeah.
You know, I've heard it several times about the one vote.
Yeah.
That one vote is one voice, and it's an empower.
Yes.
It's powerful.
Yes.
That one voice or that one person can move the world.
Yeah.
Come on.
So I always say when I hear that, or I hear anyone say, I'm just one person, I'm one great person. And maybe my voice will make 100,000 people move.
And that one vote,
That one voice will do something. I'm telling you. Just that voice, I'm telling you.
Yes.
One person. It doesn't take but one.
yeah.
That's it.
Come on,
That's
Ms. Cobb.
it. It's all it
And
takes.
then when people vote, it's that one vote actually represents so many
That's
other
right.
thousands.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yes.
And that's why we
Yeah.
want people to show up after you vote. Don't just say, go and do great things. No,
Yeah.
we're going to come with you because we got you there and we want you to continue.
Right, right.
Yes.
So you're saying it's more than the vote. Continue to remain engaged. That accountability
Yes.
again.
Yes.
That's
Well,
voice.
not
Yes.
just in that effect, but so City of Killeen has very low voter turnout.
Yes.
So on average, we have about 3 to 5% of our registered voters who come out and vote in the local elections.
Right.
So that means if you go out to vote, those are about 1,000 people that you're voting for. So your one vote is counting for 1,000 other people because they're registered or they're eligible to be registered, but they're not coming out to vote. So if you want to talk about one person having power when they vote, your one vote is being cast to say for 1,000 different people,
Wow.
this is who I would like on board. And just to jump back to Mr. Adams real quick, so one of the things that CDOT can help with is communities and schools.
Right. That's another
And
one.
so I know he would be able to tell you about that one a lot better than I would. But there are things where the city and the school board can overlap, where we can help each other. And we just need the representatives who are willing to work together, who want to help each other, instead of saying we're independent and remaining independent.
And that's why I got so excited
Yeah.
when I was going to be on a panel today, not just to debate or talk about what we were going to do, but we were talking about a voice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you
Come
see
on, Miss
everyone
Scott.
out there, they're voting like their lives depend upon it?
Yes,
That's
sir.
all we
Yeah.
ask. Have you seen the lines?
Yes.
Have you seen the
Yeah.
chatter in the lines?
It's-
I just sit there and I'm so nosy. We all know I'm nosy because I'm just so nosy. I'm sitting in line listening to what people are saying and why they're voting. I even saw a comic strip where a young lady was there with her 2 children, and the kids were asking, "Mom, why are we still here? Can we come back? Why are we still here?" And the mother says to the young man, "For you.
Wow.
I'm
Wow.
standing here because of you."
Yep.
You don't
That
tell me
is
about one
powerful.
voice.
Yeah.
That one voice is powerful. And so the gentleman who heard it, he said, I just forgot about being hungry. I forgot about how long the line was, because here this mother is standing in line just for her child.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Just imagine, that's something else to
Wow.
me.
Oh,
I'm
that's
just
powerful.
excited.
It is, it is, it is. And I mean, and you're right, we've seen the numbers, right? We have seen the numbers at the early vote, and from the last show, Pastor, to today, the lines have been wrapped around
Yes.
the buildings,
Yeah.
and people have been
Yes.
standing
Yes.
and sitting in lines for hours. And so I think with that said, talking about the issues in the city of Killeen, because essentially individuals are voting for candidates they believe could mitigate or at least have some influence to address the issues that are in the city of Killeen. And so for each of you, and I will start with Ms. Brown, what do you believe are the most pressing issues in the city of Killeen currently?
So currently, I think that we need equity across the city. And when I say equity across the city, I think that we need to take care of what we have before we continue to spend millions building brand new. So we're right now on Rancier, where the area around us has been basically neglected by the city for years. And this is where I was talking about people not having access to their essential needs. So this is a food desert here. People don't have access to grocery stores. But as soon as you cross I-14 to the south, there's 5 grocery stores in a 5-mile radius.
So for the viewers out there, Ms. Brown, who don't understand, right, what a food desert is, would you break that down, please?
So food desert is defined as an area where people do not have access to be able to go get groceries, fresh food, and nutrition, which definitely describes the area that we're in, because if you don't have transportation, there are no grocery stores within walking distance. There are no bus routes. And even if you were fortunate enough to be on the hop route to be able to get to H-E-B or Walmart, you can only take 2 bags at a time on the bus. So you would have to do your grocery shopping 2 bags at a time.
Wow.
So that is,
Wow.
Yes. So can you imagine if you have a family of 4 trying to
Right.
bring home groceries on the bus 2 bags at a time? How many trips would you have to make? And taking an hour on the bus each way, taking even 20 minutes to go from here in a car to the grocery store. So that's the definition of a food desert. It's just like being in the desert and having no water around you. If you think about it, water in the desert is essential for life.
Yes.
Well, food to anyone is essential for life. And so when we don't have that accessible to people, they get desperate. And that leads me to the second thing is the crime that we're seeing, and that it's growing. And I'm afraid because I see it's becoming younger and younger and younger. The last 4 homicides the victims were all 20 years and younger. Well, I feel like there are a few reasons for that. First of all, really good people do really bad things when they're put into desperate situations.
Wow.
And our city has put people into desperate situations. When you have young men, they're grown up to feel and to believe that their responsibility is to take care of the household and to help out their household the best they can. And so the ways that they're able to do it as minors or without the education or without skills is not going to be by any means that are going to keep them out of trouble. So we're not giving them the resources that they need to make sure that they feel their family is safe and secure so they can concentrate on being young people and getting that education and building a future for themselves. And then I feel like Mr. Adams said the city also has an issue with, I feel like, trying to prevent citizens or anybody from being involved as much as possible. So committee and board meetings are usually held on weekdays in the middle of the afternoon. If you work, it's nearly impossible to make those. Going to the city council meeting, you have 3 minutes to speak, but you can only speak on agenda items. So if there's
Wow.
something that is really bothering you,
So wait, so what are you saying is like, so you go to the meeting, so I can go to meetings,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, anybody can go.
But if I have a pressing issue, if it's not on the agenda, then I don't get to express it within that 3 minutes. So it's good to know how to get what I need to get to the city if I need to see a change in
On
my
the
city.
agenda.
right.
So
the
so
agenda.
so how am I gonna get it on the agenda again?
Good. Okay, so you can do a citizen's petition. You
Okay.
email or you call the city secretary's office, let them know that you want to speak to the council about this particular subject, and they will give you your own dedicated 3 minutes.
Wow.
Now, the
3
council
minutes.
cannot.
Wait.
Yes.
No,
So-
but do you see?
Yeah.
This is what I'm saying though. I'm listening out for these
Yeah.
things because I don't know these things. I
Right.
have been here all this time and I've seen so many things in the city, and I'm like, why can't we change this? Why can't we change that? Why do we do it this way? Why isn't anybody doing anything about this? And so I think that's one of the reasons sometimes people don't vote.
Right.
Because we do not, we are thinking these things need to be fixed, and the government officials, the politicians, and so they're not fixing it. So people feel like, I don't want to cast my vote because I'm giving you power to do nothing for me. So subconscious somewhere, it's there in their minds. But if I had known that I can go to the city council and I got 3 minutes, I would have practiced at home, get my stuff together,
And in
come
3
with my
minutes, make a good
presentation,
statement.
and with
Yes.
3 minutes come to do something.
Right.
What? Look, I'm thinking about the youths. I'm thinking about all the different
Right.
person issues and stuff. We
Yeah.
could have. I didn't know I could
Right.
do that.
You don't
And-
even
and-
have
and-
to
and
be
the
Thank you,
3
Miss
minutes-
Melissa Brown.
And the thing is that the 3 minutes is not necessarily abnormal or the agenda items because the city is following Robert's Rules of Order,
And open
right?
meeting.
And that is the way that you run a professional meeting.
And an open meeting.
And as well as the Open Meeting Act. And so Ms. Brown is entirely correct in that sense. And so if there's something that you want to talk about that's not on the agenda, no, you cannot get up because again, there's the order.
Yes.
There's the order. If somebody has something to say to pastor during his sermon, you don't go say, "Hey, pastor, I want something to say," because that's out of
I'm
order.
glad, I'm glad you said that. now.
That's out of order.
This is that-
But you can say, you can send a meeting. I mean,
Yeah.
you can send a request through the proper channels.
for something
Right?
that I need to see
To
change in my
something that
city.
exactly,
But that's what I'm
to have
saying.
that conversation.
We are not aware. We didn't know. Well, I'm sure you knew, but that's why we're doing this panel as a church, because now I
Yeah.
know I can make
Yeah.
my statement clear.
What came to my mind is who's the best person to make changes in your community?
You
Yeah.
are.
You are.
The
You are.
people.
Yep.
Community.
I
Yeah.
myself, nobody knows my neighborhood that I lived for 15, 25 years like myself.
Right.
My crime rate, the news, the things that's in my neighborhood. So when you do vote,
Jesus.
when you go and voice your what you're seeing affecting your community, you are saying, I'm not only speaking up for me and my family, but I'm speaking up for my community.
My community.
And so it's important. So can you imagine if all the community get together, go to the polls, and vote for a voice that they know that we're here.
Right.
Somebody to know that's there, that's making the rules and regulations to know that we're here. We're here, we're
Yeah.
present, and we're interested in a better way of living,
Yes.
a better community.
Right.
And so that's very powerful. People,
is.
What is very powerful.
So, and we can have, so right now, yes, that is the rules because that is our protocol and that is our procedure. Now, that is up to the city council. We set our own governance standards. And I say we, but the city council sets their own governance standards.
Right.
So they can say, we're going to allow that 3 minutes for open discussion on anything. I believe the school board has it that way. So 3 minutes on any subject. Right now, the city council is 3 minutes on the agenda, or you can request to be added and you can have your own 3 minutes. But I feel like there have been situations where citizens are chastised or made to feel bad about coming out to speak. And I feel like we need to encourage more of that interaction instead of discouraging it. And you're absolutely right with the disengagement and the disenfranchisement. Because I had a conversation with someone who said, I don't vote. And I said, I understand. May I just ask why? Well, because no one does anything for me.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. So here's
Come on,
back
that's
to that
powerful.
accountability again. And I'm just trying to imagine in my head, if there was no limit set or 3 minutes, anybody or everybody can come up and there will be complete chaos. And so order is definitely needed. And as a person who loves order, I like to know exactly how much time do I have to speak and when. And so the same question for you, Ms. Cobb. What do you believe are some of the most pressing issues in the city currently?
Likewise with Mrs. Brown, the thing that came to mind is that where there's no vision, the people will perish.
Ooh,
Yes.
We've got to have a little vision.
you're trying to preach in
And
here.
so we have to think
Come on,
about
look.
strategic planning.
Yes.
I believe that we have to do more strategic planning with our communities. Not that a voice can't come, because anyone can come. We got the 3 minutes. I am the keeper of Robert Rules of Order. I'm the parliamentarian for the Professional Football Players Mothers Association. And I'm currently working on my certification for Robert Rules so we can in other organizations. And I know the importance of those rules and of order. Order is important, but most important, that planning is important. How we plan, who we're planning for, why are we planning for that person? Okay, so this side doesn't have health care. So what are we going to do? What's in our hands? See, we have a tendency to look out there and say, we can bring all this stuff in here and we can do all of this. But what do you have in your hand? If we don't have grocery on one side, what do we have in our hand that we can work with right now? We can work with the fresh food markets. Instead of having them down, bring them closer to this side until we know what we can do. I gave myself, I said, you know what? I lived on the north side, Elm Grove Mobile Home Estates, when I first came here. My husband was a second lieutenant. We couldn't go out and buy the big home or any of those things because we were paying college loans and all those good things. And there was Warehouse Foods down the street. So easy. The Food Liner, IGA, those places were there and it was convenient. Now with the transportation, newspapers. As a public health person, you want to put literature everywhere. I was shocked I couldn't get my literature on the hop. Some of the, I mean, when you don't have a vision to increase the voices and educate those voices, they don't know what to ask for. They don't know where to go. They don't know what to do. But
they don't know the issues.
They don't know the issues.
So how am I voting if I don't even know what the issues are? And this is so profound. I can't get to the hop. I can't get to groceries. My health care is mediocre if it even exists. I don't know. I'm not worried about who the candidates are. I don't even know what the issues are. Because I'm literally just trying to make it day to day, hour to hour.
That's right.
So, and you know something, like now I'm knowing over the last few panels that we've been doing how my city really works. So for the first time in the history of the ministry, we've really stood up. And I think, again, like Pastor Coffey has been saying to the church, is COVID really pushed the church to have a voice. So now in our community, we want to really, really know what's going on because we were so affected. And now I'm finding out, for example, some people come and say, okay, we've been talking about, what's the pressing issue? Okay, we got to talk about what the pressing issues are here because I want the people here to know. I know nationally we've been dealing with so many different things. We've been dealing with COVID. We've been dealing with the whole Black Lives Matter stuff. And we have elections and all of that coming up. But one of the things that stood out to me while we're talking now is this. You speak about the bus system. I have people who are considering coming to Killeen to move. And they said, even though the job opportunities are there because everybody don't have the system to get around. And so I literally had people who have said, I have researched already, but I'm going to move to the bigger cities because you don't have your transport. They call it, what's that?
Transit. The transit
They said that system is not here. And then I begin to think about it. If we didn't have cars, right? How would I really get around if I was here? So, who is gonna be making us aware? But now I know, and that's why I'm so thankful for the show, because I'm learning as I'm going, so that my church will be better.
Yeah.
Amen.
Wow, this discussion is definitely getting good, but we need to take a short break. And so we're going to take a short break, and we will be right back. Don't you leave. You stay right with us, because I tell you, this locomotive is on the train, and locomotive is a train, isn't it?
Yeah.
Amen.
We are on the track, and we have some hot discussions coming up.
That's your Professor brain coming in.
So make sure you don't leave. Stay there. We're going to be right back. And thank you so much for coming right back. I don't know what I was about to say. Anyways, thank you so much for tuning in to Overcomers Talk. We're talking about knowing the power of your vote, and this is part 2. Last week, we met with some individuals from the city, and this week, we are doing the same thing. So thank you for tuning in. Once again, our guests are Melissa Brown, Nina Cobb, and Mr. Riacos Adams. And when we left off, Ms. Cobb was talking to us about the pressing issues in the city of Killeen. Ms. Cobb, please continue, because you are on a roll.
I am.
Yeah, you're
I
on
get
fire.
excited. You know what? When you love something,
Yeah.
you want to see it grow. You want it to have the best. You want to feed it the proper nutrition that you can give it. You want to see your children and your kids and my grandchildren who are here. You want their friends to be a part of the best and growth. Because when everyone's doing good, then we're successful.
Amen.
Yes.
It's when we're not doing good. Remember what I told you in the beginning, where there's no vision, the people perish. We can't afford to perish.
Yeah.
So we got to make sure we're feeding our youth, that we're feeding our city, that we're planning for everywhere. I like growth. I know some people beat me up about saying growth, but we can have growth and restoration at the same time. And when we start talking about restoring our neighborhoods, I think one of the I-14 corridor projects is where they're building out south and they're forgetting some spaces. But I think that we can restore as well as build. And in restoration, my son played for the Tennessee Titans. He lived in the Newtown, Nashville, Tennessee. And that was a restoration where the storefronts and the apartments were up top or down. That's one of the suggestions. I think that would be a super suggestion. If we can't get those major supermarkets, let me tell you something else. Population goes along with grocery stores. We got to take care of our folks. But we got to keep everyone, because if you're moving and you're coming and going, because I tried it, I called some places because I wanted to understand. If you tell me something, I'm going to research it. And population was a part of those places moving in here.
Yeah.
So we've got to keep people, we got to keep them satisfied in our communities to get a lot of things in here too. But in the meantime, I want to make sure people understand we've got to work with what we have until we can market and get more. And just think with COVID has stopped elections. We're in November. We'll only get, a year and a half, a year to serve? We won't even get a full term.
Yeah.
It's going to be time for us to put some more signs out if we want to run again. by the time we get there.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we got to be working hard. We should be working right now.
Okay.
My work does not depend upon an election.
Right.
My work is every day.
Yeah.
Every day we've got to be working. Every day we've got to be coming up with ideas. Every day we have to be listening.
Because the work doesn't stop.
It doesn't stop.
Because the issues don't stop.
It does not.
The issues
Come
don't
on.
stop, so the work cannot
Can't
stop.
stop.
And whether you're in the seat or not, you're supposed to be working.
Yeah.
Because it's a heart condition. You're not getting paid for it, so you might as well do the work, whether you're in the seat or not.
Yeah.
We're talking about big major things, but there's so many little things.
Little
right?
things. Yeah.
So my motto has always been, it only takes a little change to make a big difference.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's good,
That's
Melissa.
it.
Yeah,
That's
that
it.
is.
So
Yes.
I drove past Long Branch Park 2 weeks ago, and 7:45 at night, 50 people out on the basketball court, dark out, no lights on. And I think I almost burned up my brakes stopping because I needed to get out and talk to them and find out why were they playing basketball in the dark. And they said that the city has it on a timer. It comes on at 9 p.m. 9 p.m. regardless of what time it gets dark out is when the lights came on. So I said, this will be taken care of for you. I promise.
Wow.
The next day I
That
wrote
is good.
a couple emails back and forth with the city, and by the following night at 7 p.m. they had lights on there
you
playing with lights.
The
even
small
though it was
things.
dark.
So the
And it's
small
like
things,
little
big
things,
change.
safety,
Intentional.
crime, you know.
Yeah.
This is so
So
powerful.
it's just a small thing. Didn't cost the city anything. Cost me 15 minutes of emailing back and forth.
Exactly. And
Like,
she's
to
not
make a
elected.
difference.
And she's not an
And
elected
I'm not-
official yet.
yeah.
And she's making change.
Mhm.
We
That
can
is
all make
powerful.
change.
We all
Yeah.
can have- yeah.
Yeah, we got to be intentional.
And again,
I like that word, intentional.
intentional. And what caught my attention with that is that you could have passed
Yes.
and didn't pay attention
Yeah.
to that.
Not my backyard.
And the impact you've made on the lives of those citizens,
Yeah.
they all of a sudden they see the light change.
Yeah.
But they didn't realize that it's because of somebody's awareness, somebody who saw the change that need to happen
Yeah.
and decided to do it, and they're not getting paid for it.
A voice.
Being
Come on,
accountable,
come on.
accountability,
That is
engagement.
powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, very, very, yes.
That is powerful.
That is powerful. That's
Just think,
powerful.
we had prayer in the park on
Yes.
last Sunday. I was so excited. For 30 minutes, I said, we can go to the park and we can pray. I said,
Bless
I
my
don't care. They said,
soul.
well, Miss Cobb, you can't have prayer in the park because you're running for office. I said, oh, you can't tell me what I can't do. Not this time. If only one person comes and we pray.
So you couldn't have prayer in the park because you're running for office?
Well, you know how you have those different suggestions,
Beliefs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
beliefs.
Right,
right,
You know,
right.
That was
Right.
somebody.
that wouldn't be, that wouldn't be good, Miss Carr. Most
Yeah.
candidates don't pray. And
That's the
I
problem.
said, well, I tell you what, I've been praying all my life, so we're going to pray because I need to pray my way through for the election, and we have to pray our way through problems. We have to pray our way to our solutions, and we're going to have to pray our way in this city until we can get the things that are needed. But with prayer, we got to work.
With prayer and
We
work.
got to have
And
Prayer and
exactly
work. Prayer
what
and work.
Yes.
exactly what I was going to say, because one of the things is, even as we're talking, I like to pick out themes in things.
Yes.
And one of the things I think that stands out for me tonight is I hear that the community really needs to work together with the vision that
Yes.
the city officials are coming together to really make the change. But the change cannot happen until we're aware. Again, why I'm thankful for this, because if I don't know, I can't be involved. But I see that a lot of the changes that you're hoping to make, it's not going to happen until you get me to be aware.
Right.
Exactly.
So what you're trying to do with the budget and what you're trying to do in the community, and that's a big thing for me, especially as a pastor, and not just as a pastor. Forget that I'm a pastor. I am a mother, right? And I have kids, and they are in school, and they're using the systems that are in place already in my city. It affects me, period. But now I know, okay, you're asking as politicians, we can't do this alone. We need more than just, your vote is important. But what we need is, we need your vote, and we also need you to work with us.
Yes.
And I
The
think,
work.
I think the work, that's where it comes in, because it's so vital that, because I used to think, okay, I vote for you, you do all the work.
Right.
And it doesn't work like that,
I want
apparently.
to piggyback on that and something first say, because now we talk about politics and the church.
Yeah.
And so we're here in the church
Yeah.
discussing politics and the things that affect the community. But when we leave the church, we go to a home. We have children. We go into a community of some of the people that don't even go to church. So when you talk about what affects us on a personal level and as a community level, it involves everybody.
Yes.
So what I'm saying, I'm really stuck on something, and I want to bring it out. When she said that she came by the park, and at 9 o'clock at night, this light does not come on until 9 at night. It raises the question, who pays attention to the changes that need to be made? I live in the community, and I see what needs to be done. But in my head, I can't do it. Right? So I just go along with the flow until somebody catches onto it and see that something needs to be done. So it's now when the awareness that needs to happen is that somebody has to make things happen.
Right.
And we want persons with awareness, connection with the community, have the heart for people, because even as a pastor, what drives me to do what I do is because of the heart that God has given me for people.
Yeah.
So
To make that
to
change.
make the change. So the heart for people, because I'm hearing it right here. These persons, they're not doing this for money. That is amazing. That speaks for itself within itself. That needs no further explanation. That for you to do something for $100 a month, and some of not even
Before tax.
I mean, you know what that would do to
I
the
don't know how
normal
much taxes
person?
they
Turn
take
them
out.
away.
The normal person, that how much am I gonna pay to do all of this?
Yeah.
$0. They'll turn their back and be like, oh, that's not for me.
Yeah.
I got my family to feed. But because of what's in his heart for where he lives, where he serves, and the people he's around, the young men in the neighborhood, the young children in the neighborhood, the elderly in the neighborhood, all the things, the water, so everything that comes along with good community living.
Yeah.
Somebody has to be aware of the issues and is willing to step out without a salary, without looking for something in return. That is kingdom, believe it or not. That is also
Kingdom
kingdom.
principle.
This is also kingdom principle.
Faith over fear.
Faith
You
over
can't have
fear.
no fear when you're helping a person.
Come on,
You
Yeah.
got to have faith.
amen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that
That's-
means a lot, that faith over fear. I'm going to stop.
That's what I got to get off my chest. Because
No, that's good. Get it off.
Just to come to the park the next day and I'm able to play basketball at
Yeah.
7 p.m.
And there's a light
It tells
on.
me somebody did
Yeah.
something for me,
Yeah.
and I don't know who it is.
But they
Yeah.
did it.
But somebody
But
did
somebody
something.
did something for me.
And that's
And-
the
And
whole
that's
plan.
really what the community is about.
Exactly.
Right?
Come
That is
on.
really
Yeah.
what community is, that a
Come
small
on.
To
change.
care.
Yes.
One small change, somebody
My
being
God.
intentional, somebody being accountable
Yeah.
and being active, engaging, all of those
Yeah.
nuggets that we got this week and next week, those words, really seeing those words put into work. And so I have the same question for you, Mr. Adams. What are some of the pressing issues that you see? And I would say, when I say the city of Killeen, I'm speaking specifically in the area that you plan to run, which is the school.
All right. So KISD covers Killeen, Fort Hood, Harker Heights, and Nolanville, and then a smidgen of Belton. So
Wow.
it's responsible and has custody of your children throughout the day. You can influence, it takes 12 years to change a community, because that child starts from that grade and then graduates on 12th grade. So when they graduate, what do they see? Can I catch a bus to a job, or do I get out of here? Because I know back in high school we did studies, and I did Model UN, and we talked about brain drain, where individuals would leave the African continent, come to the U.S., but never go back with the education. What we're going to end up having here is, if we don't have, I see KISD as an economic player. The key is the second largest employer in this area, next to Fort Hood. So if KISD pushed for a bus system so its students could catch a bus from one high school to the career center, or when they get out of school to go work at the mall or wherever else, you're improving the economy. Or if you're taking classes, and then those buses, if the buses can focus on, the bus drivers don't have to worry about rushing and doing multiple runs. They can focus on those leaving school, going to school, and then those coming home. And then we don't have to expect our children to have a car. Or in some cases on this side, they don't have a car, and how are they going to do it? So they choose not to do it. So there's an issue with the prison pipeline. That goes back to those same young men on the court. What can I do? But your tax dollars paid for facilities at each of these schools. Why should I have to pay a second tax to use a facility that I can't use? Where I grew up, there was a partnership between the public schools, the police department, and the recreation department. When the schools closed, it turned over to the recreation department. So those gyms, additional gyms, those swimming pools, were still being maintained but paid directly from that department. And then you had the police department, who volunteered to coach or allowed that community service time to go coach a football team or a basketball team or what have you. We don't have that type of relationship, where if my child, when he gets off, he has to leave the library when a school closed. But then he's not going to drive. So when he has to go get to a bus or whatever to go to the library, how does he do that? But
So
why can't that library be a
Yeah.
part of a central library system where the school employee leaves, or their pay switches? I mean, that's just an idea, and it's that community connection that we're not maintaining. So if the folks that live on the south side of Killeen don't know what's going on this side, except when we come and there's an issue like with the homeless shelter, or you hear about no HEBs or any other, not promoting HEB, but you hear about some major food store that's no longer here. I'm
They're
sorry.
gone. They're just gone.
They're just gone. Because when I came here in 2000, this place, it was the Strip. And it was good things and bad things going on, but there was
activity.
There was activity, and
Right.
the economy was on this side was still flowing, and the BH wasn't too bad because you had soldiers that were willing to live in this area. But now, no, I don't even think the Army would allow some of the soldiers to live in certain places in this area. So we have to, if we talked about the future and I was a planner in the Army. If your plan is not nested with the community, then you tend to, that plan is just that. And you have to recognize when the plan, I'm sorry, I wasn't in the military. When the first bullet is fired, the plan goes out of the way, but that's still a plan. So you can adjust. And then what we call branches and sequels. Let me go here, here, here. So I know I have sat down, I brainstormed, and I talked to other people. I got input. Because just because you're the elected person or you're the staff person, it is still a good idea to include individuals. So like the city of Killeen has multiple boards. there are times there are 4 people on different boards because there's not enough applicants to apply, so the council has no choice but to appoint that
The same person
to
on multiple boards.
multiple boards.
You've said quite a bit of mouthful.
I think what I'm hearing, again, I love themes. So I think what I'm hearing from him in summary is, because he's been saying it since we started, is I want us to work together. I want us to work together. Certain things are separated now, but if we can come together a little bit more. Now, I'm sure all of it is not exactly possible because there's so much different dimensions as to how the city functions. But what you're probably saying is that I do see areas where we can maximize the connection to give maximum effect for the change we desire in the community. I believe that's what I'm hearing from you.
Yes. I also heard vision.
Yes.
I also heard vision, which is the same thing I heard from Ms. Cobb, and that is what I hear you saying is that some of the issues is a lack of vision, lack of planning.
I used to joke and call this a metropolis Mayberry. We want to be big but keep small. And you can't, it's a dichotomy. You got to decide, it's almost an oxymoron. You can't say I want to stay here, but I want to expand so far out. But if that expansion is not balanced, then it's a useless expansion. We've seen it where countries have almost gone non-existent, or even other cities have gone bankrupt.
So with the changes that you're seeing and the vision, the planning, and these issues that you have indicated that you see as being some of the pressing issues in the city of Killeen, how do you think COVID impacted the lack, or you would say the lack of that planning or the lack of vision, in your words? And once again, I want to remind you that the views stated here are those of the candidates on this panel, and that Overcomers Talk and Open Fire International Fellowship does not endorse any candidate or political party, and that the views here are strictly their own. The purpose of this panel is, again, for awareness and education. So with that said, how do you think COVID impacted some of the concerns that you've had?
COVID put some limitations on things, but I think it also woke us up. It made us look, if you always practice common decency, common sense, and common courtesy, that community idea, that no matter, I'm going to be careful what I do because I don't want it to affect that other person. If that same mindset was spread evenly, COVID forced us to realize, most of us, hey, had I been doing this already, I wouldn't have to worry about COVID.
So it forced you to plan.
Yes.
It forced you to really plan and become organized.
Yes, and it also forced you to adjust the way we communicated. When in actuality, the way we're communicating now causes a lot more people to get involved because now you're online and you can see it. You don't have to leave your house. So there was some good and some bad things. Now, campaigning, there's some people don't want you knocking on their doors. There's some people, and then you put your family at risk by going out among too many people because you don't know. So it's I would say it was some good and there was some bad. I'm just praying for
definitely
the day to
some
be.
changes. Ms. Cobb, same question.
I think with COVID had people reaching for answers.
Yeah.
You start reaching and you're grasping for life. It's like COVID is like no life support. Because you don't know what you're reaching for. You don't know what you're going to get.
That's deep because Pastor is a doctor.
Just think about that. You got all of these doctors that come out of the woodwork. You got all the different leaders. You got different information out there. You don't know what to grasp to, but all you know is that you want your life.
Yes.
It's like a renewal to families. Because you're going into the house, you're buckling down in the bunkers, you got whatever you have, you got to have some internet to go to school, you got to do some virtual learning, you got to wear your mask, you got to be able to afford to take care of this family, but because of this big thing called COVID, I can't go to work, so I don't really have that much money.
Right. So how did it impact some of the issues that you talked about earlier about the lack of getting to groceries because of food deserts and the transportation, and now you're stuck at the home and now you have COVID. So what greater impact then did it have on an already marginalized population?
Yes, and when you think about the businesses, if you were Uber, if you were deliveries, the market for them increased. This was a good time to get into the stock markets. I don't know about
Amazon,
you all. You can,
Amazon,
Amazon.
online shopping.
Think about these people who are out doing the work and bringing it into the home and leaving it at the doorstep. So you get comfortable being inside of that house. You've got delayed church. You can watch it on television. You've got delayed health service. We can do telemedicine. Everything became easy.
More convenient.
Or convenient. I'm afraid that when COVID leaves, that we've had so many conveniences.
Crutch.
Yes.
How are we going to walk?
Yeah.
Come on.
What are we going to do when it's time to go back to the doctor's office? Because if I'm not feeling good, you used to talk to me across the virtual medicine anyway. Come on, doctor, write me a prescription.
But I must say,
it's so much.
Ms. Cobb, I must say, I totally in agreement with you as far as this after effect.
Yes.
As to where we're going from here, because from a medical standpoint, you see this even in hospitals. It's, now persons are doing telemedicine.
Yes.
Doctors' offices are actually closing down. The overhead cost is gone down because I don't have to go pay a light bill and pay the rent. I can do the same thing except a few things, and volume will make up for the things that I cannot do because I'm not showing up to the office.
And it's hurting.
But
I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's good for you, but that's not so great for the city where you have. So you have owners of those buildings who depend on that rent for their livelihood. So everything is a trickle effect. When you're asking what is the effect and the impact on everything we've been talking about, okay, so what I think COVID has done, it has shown the disparities in our community because you have so many people who don't have access to internet, and then the district who wasn't prepared to have devices or hotspots available to them, and so now we have more of a rift between the education standards that had already existed,
The academic gap.
but now it's becoming more apparent. You couldn't get on a bus. I don't know that I would want to ride a public bus right now because you're caught in a small little enclosed area that you can't get away from. Even if you put the windows down, you're still basically trapped, right? And we have so few bus stops. It's not like you can get on and you can get off. So those people who have to rely on public transportation, now, where are they getting their essentials from? And it makes it scarier for them. So now instead of getting on the bus and going to H-E-B or Walmart or any other grocery store, now they're going to one of the local convenience stores or one of the local family marts that are in the area. They're paying 4 or 5 times as much for the same portion of food. So now they're getting less for what for their money than what they had before. That impacts them financially and nutritionally. If you're hungry, you don't learn. Growing up in poverty, I know when you're hungry, you don't learn, because if you're worried about your stomach growling and that pain that you have in your stomach, I don't care what my teacher is trying to teach me because it has no effect on me. And so that's why I think it's great the community has come together, though. There have been more food giveaways from churches and from community organizations. So it's separated us. We have been so divided.
But it brought us together as a family.
Right.
Because we're in the house with each other.
So if you think nationally it's divided us so much, but locally, not only in the house together in quarantine, but locally, the community is coming together, stepping up to support each other. And really that's what it's about. And that's what our officials should be looking toward is how can we partner? How can we partner as the city and the school district? How can we partner as the city and our local community organizations, the school district and our local organizations to take care of each other and not leave each other out there alone like I feel so many people have felt during COVID and isolation.
Because I was a contact tracer for COVID in the beginning. So I saw some cases and some things that were occurring. And I always would say the compassionate behind the mask. That compassionate in the thoughts and the process. It's like a revival. And with revival, you redo things, you're renewed. Our community saw different things, as Melissa has stated. But we grew. We grew, and I think we're going to defeat COVID when we start working together, when we wear our masks, when we research. People became so smart. I'm telling you.
Did we get much? We did. It's true. I've read probably more than
they would call us, and we would answer the
sure.
phone. They knew everything to do. So you were just on the telephone like, yes, and yes, because we knew that people were educating themselves. COVID would make parents smarter.
Yeah.
Look how smart our parents
we
are
were
getting.
forced to, just to let you know.
And Mrs. Cobb, that's exactly where I want to ask this question on behalf of those who are watching, because again, there's a lack of knowledge and education and awareness and all these things that affect persons getting involved in voting.
Yes.
And so where does the lay person who now understands that and hear this panel, that they must get involved in the polls, you must go out and speak in your community. There are persons that are going into office, being elected, and who will be speaking for you. Where do they go to get information on the issues that they're voting for and the issues that are affecting their life personally? Because that's the big thing. Because for me, I'm thinking now, there's so many, when you look around, there's so many flyers, there's so many things happening, there's so many choices to do, and so that sometimes can just kind of be, okay, I'm just going to vote for this person, and I'm out of there. I don't care whatever else happens.
Just to say I voted.
Just to say I voted, because I heard that I need to vote. But now I want to educate myself on the issues and what offices that literally affects me personally.
You know, that's a double-edged sword you just gave me. And the reason why it's going to be double-edged for me, because as candidates, we all have our platforms. So if you see a name, if you're interested in that candidate or that platform, you need to put that person's name in Google and learn their platform.
Actually, I do that.
That's it. So you're saying Google
Google each first.
Google.
Let's start from Google.
And go to texas.gov. Texas.gov is going to give you all the government, what's going on, what's going to be on the ballot, what's the proposition here, what's that. But as far as personal and individual, you just right now, I think if you put any one of our names up, you may get anything. I don't know what you may get on me.
I get it. I see what you're saying now. It's a double-edged sword.
It's a double-edged sword.
I got you, Ms. Cobb.
Because you got perspectives. Remember, there are people putting information in on internet.
You don't have nothing to do.
Right.
That's right. So we have people who
So find out the issues that affect your city, your community, and what the candidates are saying about those issues.
And if that candidate has a phone number or email,
get in contact with them.
It's put out there for a reason.
Yeah. And I think if you go to the City of Killeen's page, we can pull each of you up.
Yeah, Killeen Daily Herald.
It's Killeen Daily Herald page. It's actually the Killeen Daily Herald. So for those of you who live,
listening, Killeen Daily Herald.
Killeen Daily Herald.
The email, the phone number.
They're also on Facebook, Pastor. You can find all of them on Facebook.
Please.
And can I put a disclaimer right here?
Yes.
Just because we're using our faith over our fears, just because we're working hard, and just because we have the heart of people, we're imperfect too.
Yes.
Yeah. We've made mistakes, and some of the reasons why we're running is because of those mistakes.
Come on, Ms.
Mistakes
Cobb.
will push you out to make other people not make the same mistake.
Right.
So what we also have to govern ourselves. When you see Ms. Cobb in a pair of boots, a short, and a T-shirt, you just can't say, well, Ms. Cobb's not in a fancy suit or a dress. We are imperfect people striving for that profession to help and to be good citizens.
That's good. That's
So
good.
Sounds like grace and mercy.
That's good. That's good. Amen.
So we want you to understand that when you start researching.
Awesome.
I think for me, Miss Melissa, I think wanted to say something.
Okay. I just wanted to add two things. Number one, go to the City of Killeen and KISD websites, pull up the minute meetings.
Yes.
The meeting minutes. That's what I wanted to say.
I didn't even know you.
So you can get the minutes from every meeting and read through them, see what the issues were, how people voted on them, if people are for re-election, how did they vote. And number two, just remember that just because you elect a person, that doesn't mean that their view is what they should be voting for.
Right.
People are elected.
That's exactly what I was going to
you,
say.
not themselves.
Awesome.
That's exactly what I was going
lady.
to say, that we are understanding for those of us who are watching. Again, Overcomers Talk, we are doing this particularly for our city. I know other different regions are watching, and you can still get an understanding of what you need to do where you're at. But again, we cannot choose who to vote for because of I researched you I can't find you on Google and just look at you and decide that's what I'm going to vote for.
Right.
If I don't know what my personal issues are, I'm not going to know who to vote for.
Right.
So I'm really just giving away my power, not knowing how it's going to affect me. Now, if these issues are important to me, then what I am going to look for when I research you is not what they got on you, but what you're willing to give to me.
Right.
And I think that really should be the
driving force
the
for your
driving
vote.
force
Yes.
behind how
Yes.
we choose
Yes.
to vote.
Yes.
One thing about COVID-19, there were less candidate forums than there would have been, because you would have seen like one every week leading up to the election. So that was a negative. You would have had an opportunity to hear, but then sometimes not everybody show up at those candidate forums.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're in places where there's not enough room for everybody.
Yeah.
But there should be a case where the fire marshal is saying, no, we got to cut this off
We're
right
full.
here. Right, we're full. We're not seeing that. We should, every time there's a school board meeting, a city council meeting, they should be saying, this is full, let's go into the overflow. You know?
Awesome. Thank you so much, each and every one of you,
Thank
for
you.
being here tonight. Pastor, did you want to have anything to say before we close out? All right. So we just want to, once again, would like to thank each of our panelists for being here tonight. Again, Open Fire International Fellowship and Overcomers Talk does not endorse any particular candidate or any particular political party. The purpose of tonight's show was specifically for awareness and education. We will be going back to our regular Overcomers Talk next week. We will be talking about the church and abuse, whether it is domestic violence or any form of abuse. What is the church's response or responsibility when we talk abuse? So make sure you join us next week. And also use your voice. It is your power. Research the issues. Research the candidates in your area, and particularly if you don't live in the city of Killeen. Wherever you're watching from, it is your responsibility to use the power of your vote. So make sure you stay engaged, because you will be held accountable for your voice. Once again, thank you for joining Overcomers Talk.